If the Earth were flat, circumnavigation should be impossible, yet we've been doing it for over 500 years. Not just once, hundreds of times, in every direction humans can point a compass. Let's explore this. Hello there, welcome back to Star Stuff, where we explain things easily for those who find it boring listening to scientists and engineers. Today we're diving into the very simple, very repeatable, very globe-shaped reason why circumnavigation works, and why it leaves the flat Earth model doing cartwheels. Circumnavigation is just a fancy way of saying, start at one point, travel in one direction, keep going without teleporting, and eventually return to where you started. So now think of a round table. If the table is flat and circular, you can only walk around its edges. But what sailors, pilots, and even casual tourists do today isn't just walking the edge. They move in straight paths over the surface and end up back home. On a globe, that works perfectly. You accidentally prove a sphere every time you end up back where you started. Let's look at circumnavigation in history. First of all, let's look at Ferdinand Magellan from 1519 to 1522. Magellan's crew, well, the surviving members anyway, completed the first full circumnavigation of Earth. They left Spain, sailed west, crossed the Atlantic, crossed the Pacific, and slipped back into Spain from the east. No falling off the edge, no turning around the outside rim, just a loop. Here's the key. Their route only makes sense on a globe. On a flat Earth, their path would require impossible sideways distances across oceans that simply don't exist. Now let's look at Captain James Cook in the 1770s. Cook circumnavigated the entire southern hemisphere multiple times. His logs and maps show consistent distances that match modern measurements perfectly. Cook's first global circumnavigation aboard the ship HMS Endeavour was officially a scientific expedition to observe the transit of Venus from Tahiti, but it also carried secret instructions to search for a southern continent. The route for this expedition departed from Plymouth, England, sailed south around Cape Horn at the tip of South America, and proceeded west across the Pacific Ocean to Tahiti. After the observation, Cook charted the entire coastline of New Zealand and became the first known European to map the eastern coast of Australia, making landfall at Botany Bay. On his return, the expedition continued north along the Australian coast, nearly shipwrecked on the Great Barrier Reef, stopped for repairs in Batavia, which is Jakarta, Indonesia, then sailed across the Indian Ocean, rounded the Cape of Good Hope in Cape Town, South Africa, and returned to England. On the flat Earth ice wall map, Cook should have traveled tens of thousands of kilometers extra, but all his recorded distances match what you'd expect on a globe. The flat Earth map doesn't match. That's because real-world navigation is perfectly spherical. Next we have Sir Francis Chichester. He circumnavigated solo in his yacht Gypsy Moth 4. No conspiracies, no NASA. Just a man, a boat, and a curved planet beneath him. His route mathematically relied on great circle navigation, which is the shortest path on a sphere, and pilots use this math today. Now we're going to look at some modern circumnavigation. You don't need to be a 16th century explorer anymore. Circumnavigation happens constantly. With commercial flights, if you fly from Joburg to Sydney to Los Angeles to London and back to Joburg, that's a circumnavigation. Your boarding passes literally plot a sphere. Round the world race pilots, record-setting pilots like Steve Fossett and the Solar Impulse team have circumnavigated the globe using aircraft that log GPS, altimeters, satellite tracking, and ground-based radar. These technologies come from different countries, companies, and sometimes even private hobbyists. Yet all their data agrees. Not NASA, just reality. Flat Earthers love calling Antarctica the ice wall that guards the edge of the world. yet people literally race around it. Events like the Vendée Globe and the Volvo Ocean Race, now known as the Ocean Race, take competitors into the Southern Ocean on routes that loop around Antarctica at high southern latitudes. These aren't scenic cruises. They're high-speed, high-risk circumnavigation events where distance and navigation data are tracked publicly in real time. If the southern hemisphere was stretched out the way the flat Earth map shows, these races would cover impossible distances, but their travel times and routes line up with a globe. You can't fudge that at 25 knots. Then in December 2016, scientific teams from all around the world boarded the Russian research vessel Academic Tryashnikov for an unprecedented exhibition around Antarctica, organized by the Swiss Polar Institute, where researchers worked in a number of fields, from biology to climatology to oceanography, to improve knowledge on what the future may hold for this continent and for the world. They literally made a trip around Antarctica. Can you see why I sigh so much when I talk to flat earthers? There's no secret gate, no military guard, no don't look behind this curtain moment. Anyone with a passport and a budget can hop on tourist cruises around the Antarctica, flights over Antarctica, research station visits, South Pole trekking expeditions. Thousands of everyday people, photographers, hikers, retirees, bored millionaires, visit the continent every year. If Antarctica were a giant ringed wall with an ocean spilling over the edge, these trips wouldn't just look different. They couldn't exist at all. Every route, every timestamp, every logged distance matches one shape perfectly: a globe. Flat Earth models rely on a single unavoidable map. A big circular disk with the North Pole at the center, and Antarctica as a giant ring around the edge. Here's the problem, and I've mentioned these in a few of my previous videos. East to west paths become absurdly long, like a flight from Sydney to Santiago on the flat map would be over 25,000 kilometers, yet flights take 12 hours, not 30. Great circle routes only work on a sphere. Airlines use them because they save fuel. On the flat map, they make no geometric sense. Returning to your starting point after going north or south is impossible on a flat map. And yes, pilots and sailors do it constantly. GPS, star navigation, and ground tracking all agree. These systems do not belong to one government or one organization. They independently confirm the same geometry. Circumnavigation only works if the Earth curves. Flat Earth arguments tend to collapse under the simplest real-world tests. Circumnavigation is one of the oldest and still one of the most elegant. No huge physics lesson, no complex mathematics. Just go in one direction long enough and you'll come home. That only works on a globe. So to everyone who's tried to sail, fly, circle the Earth, thank you for the world's most persistent, unintentional mic drop. Thanks so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to Star Stuff. You will not regret it. I promise. Cool beans.